Hello to the Instagram followers. Welcome. Going live through Restream, which will go out on Twitter and Facebook and on my YouTube channel as well. So good morning, everybody. It is Saturday and it is the live gardening clinic where I answer your gardening. Award-winning garden designer, a TV gardening presenter, and an author. And my new book, Royal Gardens of the World, will be coming out in September of this year. You can get it from all good bookshops and online. I'm afraid last week we abruptly got kicked off for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but the session ended. Good morning, Alice, to you. Love to see you again. So I'm going to pick up on where we got cut off this week. We will be sustainable, is it? We'll also then be looking at aerobic composting, French beans, if you'd like, with all the more comments or likes I get, the better. Hello, you're new to gardening. Already on, so I won't go through honey fungus again, but I will start perlite over again. So, say which is magmatic rock, also known as volcanic glass, and it acts as a lightweight there are a number of and it does a test, and it's virtually again, but I think I'm back again, hopefully. Now I am looking at two cameras today because I'm also doing live on Instagram. And hello to Singermac and Ian Blandford and Linsky15 on Instagram, and of course Alice, Sarah, Catherine, and Donna so far on. And Sarah on Restream and everything else, and there's more appearing all the time. So back to perlite. Also, perlite is great for water retention. So when perlite is heated, it's a bit like really. When it's heated, it rapidly it expands, and the molecules, water molecules, even expand that perlite. So as popcorn, it actually increases its volume by 20 times its original size, which is quite incredible. And this extra space absorbs water and therefore helps keep roots moist and prevents overwatering. The other good thing about perlite is that it sort of provides other additives. Contaminant attached to it. An ideal pitch of between 6.5 and 7, so you can use it on things. But you probably see me. I add it to my when I'm doing things great at improving aeration in soil. It sort of breaks up soil and compacted areas of grains, and it also has a high distance and volume capacity. Also, of course, perlite has got vast use in the industry. but it's also for helping to filter water, and also helps hazardous waste spills. So it helps to prevent contamination to local rivers and into fish hats. So there are sort of I would say, six really good points of why and I've got a figure here, and this is quite incredible. It says the global perlite industry actively mans a total of less than 8 square meters, and this is really a small fraction available, and that was based on a survey in 2010. Now, I know that's a little bit old, but it also says that in the past 60 years, 1% of the reserve has been used. So, it's not using a lot of this material. And perlite is a little overburden, really, when it comes to managing and minimal waste. There's no alcohol used in the processing of perlite. So ingredients like vermiculite and rock wool are questioned, however, because they use a lot of energy during their production process for the sustainable side of things. So it's got all ups, uses a lot of it. And also, I would probably say when it comes to it, is that really perlite, and really like anything that composts and all this, do a little bit of research, really find out from, because although it's not synthetic material, perlite can have a detrimental effect on the sort of local ecological environment because it's strip mined. So when buying it, it's just worth maybe just finding possible, how the firms mine it. Are they doing it in a sustainable way? Are they implementing the maintenance of soil composition and ecology? And what steps are they taking to restore the environment after they've strip mined it? When done properly, there's no need really to leave landscape damaged after the mining process. To get the manufacturers and making sure that they do it in a sustainable way. I don't think I've actually seen on any origin where it's a sustainable company when it comes to perlite. So maybe that would be something that maybe the industry needs to look at to see whether or not companies are actually doing things sustainably, and if they are, maybe they need like a little something just to show that they are doing something right. As I say, there are some ups for perlite. Good federation, it's lightweight, sort of a pH of 6.5 to 7.5. It's great for your plants because it sort of holds moisture, but it allows for water retention as well. But of course, that whole process of expanding, like popcorn, uses a lot of energy. So that's a downside. So like other things, there are ups and there are downs. So perlite, I would say maybe 50-50. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you think. Have you had any experience with perlite? Have you seen anything on the packaging? Leave your comments and let me know, because I would really like to know your thoughts as well on this. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is aerobic composting, or you may have heard of something called a hop. So I've actually got one of these, and I have to say I absolutely love it. It took a little while to get used to the ratio of greens and browns and that sort of the amount of keeping it moist. But now we are producing really lovely compost at the bottom in a matter of weeks. And it's really incredible. And the great thing also about that, it's actually small. I can't remember the actual dimensions of it, but it's only probably some 70 by 70 or 80 by 80 centimeters, and then sort of tall. So it's great. It will fit into most gardens or most sort of balconies. And because it's self-contained, you've got no problems. You've got no problems with pests or anything like this. So I would say it's a great one to add. If you obviously do composting away with big compost. I've got 8-bay composting bases. I have the hot as back, so I've got that. So it just helps. It's something there. But what is aerobic composting? So aerobic composting basically reaches about 40 to 60 degrees Celsius, and that breaks down all the food and all the garden waste just of. Now, what happens? Decomposition of organic matter uses little microorganisms that are naturally occurring that require oxygen, and those microbes are responsible for composting and are naturally occurring and live in the moisture surrounding organic matter, and they're therefore responsible for the down of the waste into compost. But the bacteria does need a few things. It needs food, so it needs the food to feed on. It needs to digest that, and that also requires. It needs water, and that's because the bacteria requires water to grow and also to aid digestion. It also needs oxygen. It prevents excess water and waste. In a putrid sort of sloppy mess that sometimes some compost heaps can be. It's great from that point of view. Warmth. Bacteria operates, as I say, happiest between 40 and 60 degrees Celsius, but they will work if the heat gets above and around 75 Celsius. But it has this lovely little thermometer on the top, and it has a little air sort of flap as well to let in a bit of air to cool things down. We normally operate around about 42, 45, something like that. But it soon heats up. It's really incredible. It really goes down quickly, so it's a great of using up your garden waste. Now, I need to sort of look at some of the ins and outs with this one, because the bacteria sort of heat release, and it depends on the individuality and stability of that waste. And without oxygen, the production of methane is 4 times more potent than greenhouse gases, 24 times more potent than greenhouse gases. And it will occur, and compost will not be produced effectively. The most efficient way of ensuring oxygenation to waste is by creating what's called free air spaces. And free airspace is the sum of all that's around and in between all the particles through which the air can circulate. And when these particles are able to create what they call a self, and spaces are maintained for long periods. The other great thing is that it's sort of formed from, when I first got it, I thought it was like a polystyrene. It's actually from expanded polypropylene, which is a really good insulator. When you get it, if you get it, you're looking at around about, 7, maybe even 8 inches thick, really thick. As I say, it's self-contained. But the great thing about it is because it is so lightweight, you can move it. Obviously, when it's empty, when it's full, it's a bit heavy. But when it's empty, you can move it around. It's easy to do. And because that polypropylene has been expanded, there's a lot of air within it. So that also holds in the heat. So it becomes a great insulator. So I would say composting is absolutely brilliant. Carol has just come back. She said, "Hi Mark, that's great, but also there are quite a few times where the audio and picture freeze, which make viewing or hearing everything you say difficult." Really sorry about that, Caro. Are other people having problems with my stream? Is it breaking up, or is it okay? If people could just quickly let me know, that would be really, really handy. And people on Instagram, if people could let me know on Instagram as well, if everything's all okay. So hopefully it's okay. I've just had a quick pop-up on Instagram where they say they bought a new hydrangea about a year ago, and it's looking a bit sorry for itself. Can I give them any help? With yeasts, they do like moisture. They do like to be wet, not too wet so that it rots everything off, but they really do like a good soaking. So just make sure that the soil around the hydrangea isn't drying out, and give it a really good water. And then if you've watered it, put on a really good thick mulch of just compost, garden compost will do, of around about 7 to 10 centimeters. Leave a ring actually around the actual sort of trunk of the hydrangea. You don't want to get it close to that because that could cause rotting and fungal diseases. Keep it away from that, but give it a really water and see what happens. Depends also if you've pruned it or not. So with hydrangeas, it's always best to prune off old brown flowers in the spring. You leave them over winter time because what they actually do, they actually protect them a little bit low on the stem from any frost or anything like that. So early spring is the time to remove the flower buds. So if you did them a little bit too early, the flower buds down below could get frost on them. Just keep an eye on it. Also, hydrangeas really do better in sort of a partial shady site. If they get sort of like morning sun, afternoon, perfect. So just think about its position. Give it a really good water. If possible, give it a good mulch. And then fingers crossed, your hydrangea will be okay. So I hope so. I hope telling everybody here. I'm actually looking at several cameras today, which is why my eyes are going to the place, because I'm doing it live on Instagram as well. So we've looked at perlite, the sustainability of perlite, and we've looked at aerobic composting. Please tell me if you've had any experience with hot bins, aerobic composting, whether you like them, whether you don't, what problems you've had with them. Just keep sharing them with me. And we can see where we are. And please continue to like and share because it really does help. I had another question. So another question is there. First time growing French beans, and I've sown Blue Lake. Follow the RHS advice and have 3 seedlings to a pot. Now the roots are coming out of the box, and my last frost predicted is probably end of May, beginning of June, as I'm in central Scotland. What do I do now with potting on? Do I separate the 3 seedlings or replant the whole thing into a bigger pot? The seedlings seem to be very quick. Thanks. I got a name, Rosie. Thanks, Rosie. Well, first, congratulations, you're doing everything right because you've got some lovely seedlings that have popped up. Blue Lake is a really lovely climbing French bean. It's also slightly tough and stringy, so it's a really good one to grow. It's coming out of the bottom. The plants really are ready on. Because of where you are up in Scotland with your lake, operating the seedlings, taking great care to damage the roots, hold them by the leaves, gently pull them apart. If you water and leave the water to drain away before doing this, they'll separate a little bit easier as well. And then plant each one into a pot with good peat-free compost. You've still got around about another 4 weeks of growing until the end of May, beginning of June. I suggest that you put one into a really good-sized pot. Now, depending on the size of the seed, a photo, unfortunately, you might need something as big as a 2-litre pot or a 3-litre pot per seedling. So it really does depend on the seedling size. And then just keep an eye on that. If you hear that frosts are over, then start hardening your plants, keeping them outside for a period of them inside night, and then extending the period outside over a few weeks. And before you know it, your plants are hardened off and can stay out. They will want to grow quickly, so keep an eye on their growth as well. If you feel you need to plant them out, then what I would suggest is you can plant them out, but with water fleece if you've got it. And then at the first signs of warnings of frost, you literally go out there, put the fleece over, a lovely sunny day like it is down, take the fleece off, and then at night. So I would say as soon as you can, really get it in, just water and watch your baby. And it's simple as that. So you're really doing very, very well, Rosie. You've got some really good seedlings. Just separate them, put them into their individual pots, let them grow on a little bit, keep an eye on the weather. When the frosts are over, get them outside and get them growing up some bamboo canes. And before you know it, you've got some delicious French beans. So we are now running on. So someone has sent me, Don has sent me a question saying, I'm kept indoors in a cool hallway, and now long and leggy. Is it okay to plant out and cover at night? Should I cut off any leaders? All I would say is that if aggressively cutting back or pinching the pole beans, you really will stunt the pole bean growth. However, given the nature of the plant, this is generally short-lived. So a healthy pole beans are prolific growers and will reach the sun rapidly, and they'll just continue to do so regardless. So do they need pinching out, and will pinching out sort of in more of a crop? Probably unlikely. More probably pole bean pinching would encourage growth to stems and leaves and away from the beans, at least during the beginning and the middle of the growing season. To increase the number of beans in a harvest, just continue to pick frequently, which pushes juice abundantly. All the energy goes back in producing more beans. It's all about wanting to set seed, and that's what the seeds beans. So the more you will get. Pinching out the tip, I say about a possibly two. Harden off outside, and then this might slow down a little bit. Ready for planting. If the plant branches out, then the usual time to pinch at the top is really just before of their support. Flowers start while hardening them off. I would leave them on if you plan to plant them in the next week or so. Sometimes premature flowering can be a sign that the plant is under stress because the pot is too small. In this case, just pot them up into a larger pot, wait until the frosts are over, and you can put them out. So hopefully, Donna, that's answered your query on your leggy runner beans. As I say, you're doing really, really well. I'm really delighted to hear that more and more people are actually growing fruit and veg this year. With more of us spending more time in our gardens because of what's happening. I think it's actually something like 1 in 6 people now are spending more time than ever in the garden. Or is it 6 out of 10? No, 6 out of 10 people are now spending more time in the garden. And I think that's brilliant. And the more veggies we can grow and the more fruit we can grow, then all the better for it. I would also say quickly, going back to roses with regards to French, is that you've still got, as I said, about 4 or 5 weeks until the frosts are over. Why not sow a second lot? And then that way you'll be ready, perfect timing once all the frosts are gone, and then you can put them straight out. And so by doing that, you sort of get plants that will produce at slightly different times. So the ones that you planted first of all will already be running away. They'll be starting to set their veg. And then the other one, which is you sowed sort of 3 or 4 weeks later, will be that 3 or 4 weeks one. And then you'll just have that continuation of vegetables. And that's a really good tip for all vegetables, really, is if you grow, don't be tempted when you get your vegetable seeds packet to just sort of sow the whole lot all at once, because what will happen is they'll all come up. You'll then have, 50 sort of seedlings, and you'll think, how on earth are all these 50 seedlings? What I would suggest is just take out maybe 10 seeds, sow them first of all, hopefully they'll all come up, throw them on, then wait for a few more weeks, do a second batch, and then maybe even do a third batch after that. And the great thing about that is, as I say, you're basically staggering the growth of your vegetables, and it just means you have a longer bounty and a longer harvest. So Donna's just say, perfect, thank you, good. I'm glad I've answered your query on your leggy runner beans. Now, I had an email from Bill who sent me a photo of a camellia, and he says that camellia isn't flowering. And I also noticed actually on the photo that some of these are going a little bit brown as well. Right, so camellias, first of all, what I would say is check to see if the soil around the roots are wet. If then try to do drainage. Camellias don't like soggy bottoms, is the best way of putting it. They really don't like really, really wet soil. But there is another side to this. When the flower bed buds are forming in the summer, then you must ensure that the plant never dries out. Otherwise, the buds won't form; they'll just drop. So, what I would suggest is, because it's not flowering now, ideally water it. Fix the soil as well, but water it preferably with rainwater and not with tap water. And also the other thing is, depending upon how old the camellia is, some camellia won't flower until they're 5+ years old. So that might be another thing about it. Frost can also cause buds to shrivel and die. So depending upon its actual location within the garden, is there a frost pocket? Could it have been affected by frost? I would hold off from overfeeding as well with a nitrogen-rich feed during summer. Otherwise, all you're going to do is encourage lush green growth, and that will be it. Only feed really with a slow-release fertilizer. You could probably just do some now if you haven't done already, and then feed with a high potassium feed in July and August, because that's going to help form those beautiful buds ready for next year's display of flowers. From the photo, it looks like it's in full sun. Camellias do like dappled shade and well drained, and they don't like cold winds. They're quite fast. So ideally, a bit like the hydrangea, you want morning sun and afternoon shade. Make sure it's not in a wind tunnel or winds. Maybe you might need to because it's done. So that might just be something to have a think about. But I would say first, check your soil, give it a good water with rainwater. You could then get a nice mulch, again around about 7 to 10 centimeters of garden compost. Give it a really good mulch as well. That will hold the moisture in without keeping it all too wet and foggy. And then give it just about got time to give it a slow release fertilizer now. And then during the summer, make sure the plant does it stays moist, because that's how it's going to form your flower bud. That's the same with dendrums as well. You must ensure that the plant has really good moisture during the summer to create and produce those flowers. Just where the time, it's 11:30 already. Quite the time does fly. I can't believe it. But of course, you know, if someone else has any other thoughts on why their camellias aren't flowering, or if their camellias aren't flowering and they want, then just ask the question, and hopefully I can help and get you on the right track. And then I had a question from, say, he's got a beautiful photograph. He's grown a bougainvillea, a really beautiful bracts on it. But there's some discoloration on the leaves and on the flowers, and he's due to the wet. So first of all, congratulations, Mark, on growing this beautiful bougainvillea. It looks absolutely stunning. More than likely it is due to water, and probably water getting the leaves and onto the flower. Some of the leaves might not be, but it could be, and that affects new and mature plant growth. And this is due to a deficiency in iron and magnesium. But I don't think it probably is chlorosis. I think it probably is just the water damage. So what I would say is just keep an eye on it. Maybe just remove those leaves that look a bit tatty and those bracts that look a little bit tatty. Keep an eye on the plant. It's the new growth. You've got some lovely new growth coming on it, and it looks really healthy. So I would still stick with it, and then sort of make sure that if it does continue to sort of go a bit yellowy, you've got your deficiency. Also, water only once a week. but let it dry out between waterings. That's really important. Bougainvilleas like that sort of being watered, but they then like it to be quite dry. Bougainvillea roots are really fragile, but it is sometimes worth looking at. From the photo, it looks like it's growing in a pot. So just checking, maybe you can lift the plant up just to see if making sure the roots aren't rotting. Probably not, because of the way that you're coming through. All right. Also, if it's been that, we want to pot it up into a new pot with some fresh ericaceous soil. If you can't do that, then just take out the top few centimetres of compost that's currently in the pot and then fill it back up with ericaceous soil. And then, as I say, keep the soil moist, let it dry in between. Also, I think by the looks of the photo, you're growing this outside. Obviously, during the winter time here, it gets a little cold for bougainvilleas, so I'm assuming you're also bringing it indoors as well. So all I would say is that congratulations, first of all. It's a beautiful plant. I think it's just water damage. Just keep an eye on those, as you know. And then I would just say, yeah, if you can, pot it on into another pot with some fresh ericaceous soil and see how you go. And hopefully, Mark, that's answered your query. And then we've got a query which was also from last week, which is from Jane, and she sent me a photo as well. And she said, "Hello, Mark. Looking forward to this Saturday's Q&A. You've already kindly answered the question for me, so please do put me at the back of the queue. I'll never put anyone at the back of the queue. I welcome all of your comments and all of your queries, and I'll try and squeeze them in however I can. And I sort of try and sort the questions out so that nice variety across the whole of the clinic." And she says, "I just planted a honeysuckle Henryi because she loves its colours. It's climbing up a 6-foot fence in a sunny spot with the roots behind a small bay so they're shaded. I didn't realise how quickly it would grow. It's growing about 2 inches a day, so I'm thinking it's going to grow really to the top of the fence and beyond very soon. I'm wondering if I've made a mistake, if I need to put it somewhere else with more room, or is it okay to just keep it any time of year to keep it the size I need it? It is growing up a 6-foot fence, but I also have a new climbing rose next to it, so unless they both mingle, will it need to go somewhere else? The speed of growth is astonishing me." Henryi is a gorgeous honeysuckle. It has a sort of muted yellow and red tubular flowers, but it is vigorous and it can grow to about 9 meters in height if left unpruned, and it can do conditions within 2 to 5 years. So it's a quick grower. So it will eventually swamp everything. I think there was a ceanothus as well from memory that's in there. It could come forward, it could go over into the bay as well. So maybe an option, probably it might be better to move it somewhere else where it can just go and just do whatever it wants. And then maybe plant something else there in its place, like a clematis or maybe the perennial sweet. What about that? Perennial sweet peas don't really have scent, but they still look just like a sweet pea, and but you could keep it where it is and just prune it and just keep it in check. Now you keep it in check in springtime, and you do that really just by trimming and tidying up the plant. Apples can get very matted and twined as they get older and older and older. Remember the D's, removed any dead, diseased, damaged stems, and then prune back to where you see the joint meets another stem. Then all those sort of stems that sort of go flying off all over the place, they can be removed back. But as I say, if you forget about the plant and it does suddenly grow and you get this sort of tangle of stems, you can do rejuvenation pruning. But rejuvenation pruning should only be done in winter, and you can cut it right back to anywhere between 30 and 60 centimeters from the ground. It will then grow quickly, but you probably won't get flowers the following spring. But you know, it means you're still keeping it in check. Keep the soil moist. Again, give it a good mulch around the base with a garden compost to improve moisture retention. And then that also help with powdery mildew. It's one of the problems with honeysuckles. They do get powdery mildew. So just by putting some compost on top of the soil, which has been watered, that will just keep the moisture inside and prevent any spores that might be in the soil getting up into the plant. So two options really, Jane. It is a beautiful honeysuckle, beautiful scent. If you want to enjoy those flowers and want to enjoy the flowers for a long time, then I would move it to something you can. If not, just keep it tidy by trimming it, and just keep a check to see how the flowers are doing. Because what eventually can happen as a honeysuckle grows, then it loses all its flowers down below and just flowers at the top. I wouldn't grow any feature, and they're obviously scrambling trying to get. So you know, just keep going and get it by trimming them back, keep it in check. Hopefully, you'll get and contain it. So good luck, Jane. Send me a video. I'd like to see. Someone's just sent me a message which says, I've started to cultivate veg from the seeds from the veg and fruit I'm eating. The capsicum, tomatoes are well, cucumber seeds and grapefruit. Okay. Well, cucumber seeds normally take off quite well. What I would say, depending on them, with cucumber seeds, you know, they're sort of like an oval shape and quite flat. Don't plant them flat, plant them on their side. Sow them on their side, and then sort of just push them down on their side. That should give some better results. I don't know whether you've got a greenhouse or whether you're growing them on the windowsill or whether you've got any heat mats or anything like that. But just get it a nice lot of bright light, put it in a nice bright spot, not too scorching hot, and then just keep the soil moist, and they should really come up in a matter of weeks, really. Yeah, probably about a week and a half, you'll start seeing a little bit of growth. I've got some cucumbers coming up. I will actually show a little video of that, just to give people an update on all of the cucumbers and radishes and lettuces and everything else that I sowed a few weeks ago, just so you can see what's happening. With regards to the grapefruit will take a little bit longer. I would say if you can give it a little bit of heat from underneath, then that will help. It will help it. You say you cultivated it from the seed and veg that you eat. Does that mean you actually collected the seeds yourself from something that you were eating? Because again, depending on how you did that, you want to make sure that those seeds, make sure sort of make over the winter period you started sowing them. If you didn't just decided to do it, i.e. you've eaten your cucumber this morning, you've been eating your grapefruit this morning, and you decided to take the seeds out, oh yes, so that sounds like you have just taken the seeds from the plant that you've been eating so far this year, which again people do. You know, it's a great time to do this while we've got more time on our hands. You know, tomatoes, copious amounts, capsicums, copious amounts of seed. With the cucumber seeds, as I say, they are a little bit more fussy when you sort of pick them out yourself. They need to be. Oh, good morning from the US, from North Carolina. Wow, that must be early in the morning over there. I would say make sure that seeds are dry before you sow them. Just put them into a piece of kitchen towel or something like that. Let them really dry off, because of course cucumber really is about 99% water at the end of the day. You want to make sure they're really dry, because otherwise just rot off in the soil. And then, as I say, just sow them slightly on their sides, so that you get less sat with the soil. You want it to be sort of nice and moist in that compost, and not too wet. Don't overwater it, and just have patience, I'm afraid. Yep, 6 a.m. in North Carolina. Wow, Hello, and you are most welcome. If you've got any gardening queries, then please ask them. I know that in America there are different plant names from plants that we know over here in the UK. Hopefully, I can do my best and answer any problems that you have. So we've had a right order of questions today. I had someone ask a question about what happened. You sort of obviously started to grow stuff from seed, and then you sort of planted them on, and you potted them on into say 9 centimeter or 11 centimeter. Oh, what do I do with them now? Do I just leave them for another few weeks? Do I plant them up? What do I do? Well, same thing with your seedlings, really. Just keep an eye whether the roots are going to come out of the pots. If you see the roots coming out of the bottom of the pots, then you know it's probably time that needs to really get into the ground. Depending on where you are, if you're down in the south, then now is a perfect time to start planting everything and getting stuff out into the garden. If I think Rose, wasn't it? If you're like Rosie and you're up in Scotland, then honestly you need to wait a little bit longer because of those late frosts. But just keep an eye on the plants, give them water, make sure that they're a nice bright spot, not too soaking wet, and the water continues to grow in the pots. But of course, like anything that's in a pot, the cost that you use will only hold nutrients for a few weeks, and then they'll start to the nutrients will start to degrade, and any feed that's in there will start to degrade as well. So that's when you need to really sort of think about planting them on. If you're sort of getting ready for your spring bedding days, for your pots or for your containers, what I would probably say is it's quite a nice idea to bags and they've been outside. Shock who've been growing stuff and you've been nice and warm spot, either in a cool sort of greenhouse or in a cool porch or wherever it might be. It'll still be quite warm compared to outside. Bring the compost well, because by doing that, the plant has so much of a shock. It's not like it's like if you're all nice and warm and you go into a cold bed, and it's a bit cold, and you don't really like it, and you move around a bit to try and warm up the bed. Obviously, the plants can't move around or do a jig, but just by keeping that soil that little bit warmer, when you come to do your hanging baskets, to do your pots, warm. Your plants can then go in, they'll be the warm, same sort of temperature, and then all go outside, and then they'll just flower away and do their thing, really. What I would say, and really this sort of goes back also to Mark's query on his bougainvillea, is a lot of people, when they're watering, they sort of either get a hose or they get a watering can, and they just go straight over the plants, not really thinking about what they're doing, but they're thinking, yes, this is okay. They're giving them water. Always, always, always water the soil, not the plant. Obviously, you do get some foliar feeds, which you can spray on, and that goes through from the leaves and gets into the plants. But with just water the soil and not the plants, because water can get onto the flowers or onto the leaves. It can damage them, which is probably the case with Mark's bougainvillea. Water the soil around them, and then that way, they'll be so much better for it. If you've got a really large shrub or a large tree, obviously a lot of water. So a really handy or nifty trick is when you planting them. If you've got sort of like a length of pipe, it could be down drain pipe, it could be just a 2-inch pipe, it could be anything really. Plant that so that on with the roots. So when you plant your plant into its hole, put the tube in as well. You then backfill, making sure the oil goes down the tube, backfill it up, and then when you come to water, you water down the tube. And then that way the water gets right down to the roots where it's needed. And then those roots, as the water goes down, the roots will go after them. They will be going for that water, that moisture. They will then be going for the nutrients. If you just do sort of a light watering, what eventually happens is that those poor little plants, their roots just stay on the surface. And of course, if we get really hot summers, we know what it's like. Soil gets really dry and it can start to crack. But those poor roots, if there's a bit of soil, they'll also die off, and then your plants will never pick. So I would say from that point of view, give if you're out in the garden, give your plants a really good soaking. If it's really hot weather, you might need to do that twice a week. But if you give your plants a very good week, and what I mean by a good soak once a week, I mean a really good soak. That means sort of really leaving the hose around your plot to get it all wet. It will soon drain down. Obviously, if you've got drainage problems with your soil, then you'll improve your drainage. And that can be done, obviously, with horticultural grit, by adding in some homemade compost, mixing all of that in, add in some fertilizer if you wanted to, just to help break up the compost, and then that will help with moisture retention. Little Penny's just, thank you very much, on the hot bin. She's going to go and purchase one. It is great. Composting is very, very good. It's very handy. Brilliant for smaller spaces, and as I say, also for balconies. It does seem quite odd. You keep looking up and down at two different cameras, but it's all okay, you guys, and it's not too bad. You can still see me and still understand me. As I said, please continue to like my clinic. Please share with your friends. Please leave me your comments. I do also, I must stress, once the clinic is over, I do also just keep checking back to see if people have left messages. So it's not all just keep going back as well. But please, if you anything I've said today, if there's anything which you think, oh no, I don't do it that way, I do it this way, let me know. Let's share everybody. Everyone has their own way of doing things. And yes, we all read stuff in books, and we may look at stuff online, and it's obviously me sort of giving you advice. But everyone has their own way of doing stuff, and that's what it's so individual, so personal, and everyone has their own tips and tricks. And I think it's great to share those. I think that's what gardening. That's why I love it so much, because there are all these little tips and tricks. It has their own little ways of doing things. So another query that I had the other day is that they said they got some seed packets, and the seed, it has a sort of a use by date on it, and I think it was like 2014 or 2015, something like that. And they're saying, can they still sow them, and will they come? Well, why not just give it a go? Is all I. Obviously, when these are packaged, they're packaged at their optimum time, and the whole idea is that by the time they get to you, and the time you then sort of sow them, whether it's in April or March or May or whatever it might be, when you come to sow them, in theory, they should all come up, and then you've got your plants. Now, not all seeds will come up. That's just nature at the end of the day. And it doesn't matter how good a gardener you are, sometimes seeds work, sometimes they don't. With older packs of seeds, if you've kept them in a cold place, like in an airtight container within the fridge, then they'll probably be all right. Imagine the manual seed bank up at Wisley and at it's gone the place. Then you can. That's what they do. Obviously, they're keeping their stuff very, very cold. You have to wear really warm, sort of eider-downy type jackets and everything to keep themselves warm with the seeds, because that keeps them fresh. So all I would say is that if you do get seeds, and maybe I'm not going to be able to sow them this year, put them into an airtight container. If you can get some of those little silica sort of you get them. If you can those as well, they'll sort of take any excess moisture away. Put a bit of kitchen towel in there as well for them, that will help. And then just put them at the back of the fridge and forget about them. And then when you're ready to plant them, bring them out. If they are 2014, 2015, you're looking at what, 5-6 years ago, maybe they will. But again, that's the beautiful thing about it. Just give it a go. You might be surprised. They might all come up, and then you'll then have a lovely garden full of flowers. I would say seeds. It is worth. We always go to garden centres or to the nurseries, and we do see all these lovely plants. They're sort of 2-litre pots or 3-litre pots or 5-litre pots, and they're all very tempting. They're all gorgeous, and yes, I lots of my plants, and that sort of almost instant effect, and they're going to grow very well. So there is nothing better than trying to grow stuff from seed. If you've never done it, I was actually had an interview by BBC Radio London, and they don't really everything for them died. What's the best way of trying to start? Ways about nurture plants, and what I mean by that is just sort of trying to grow what we did as kids. First of all, grow sort of press or what we consider care for them, and then maybe start with something that's big. So something like a sunflower seed is really big, or even something like nice and big. They will eventually come up, and then as they come up, you can care for those plants, and you'll see how they'll grow. And there's nothing better than seeing it grow, and it's even better when it's like a few weeks or a couple of months on, when they're producing either vegetables or they're just flowering plants. They're producing abundant of flowers. You can just think to yourself, I grew that from seed, that tiny little seed, and now look at it. It's miraculous, and it is miraculous, and that's the beauty of gardening. Now, I don't know where the time goes on these gardening. So please let me know your experiences. I'd love to hear them. If I should know something else, or you've done something in a different way, then please let me know. Also, please remember to like my clinic. Please share them with other people, and then I will see you here next Saturday at 11 a.m. and hopefully it's worked on Instagram. To the people on YouTube, sorry, someone just said, am I participating in the RHS virtual shows? I am. The RHS Chelsea virtual show, I'm participating in that. Self-shooting from home. So you will see that when it comes out. So keep safe, keep well, happy gardening, and see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.